States returns to work within 10 days of giving birth. 25 million workers lack a single day of paid sick time. More than 2/3 of women are worried about the cost of groceries and housing. No one should have to choose between their paycheck or caring for themselves and their family. Join us in fighting for a more just and supportive workplace for us all. A better balance.
Hi, everyone. Was that not amazing? Can we have another round of applause for the space station? That was unbelievable. And congrats to our colleagues here at WashPost's Live. I don't know what magic went into that, but I'm sure there was a lot. So that was amazing. What a day this has been already, and so much more to come. Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, I should say. I'm Luiza Savage, Editorial Director of Washington Post Intelligence. This is a new analysis service from the Washington Post that provides analysis and an executive community for leaders in business and policy. And for me, it's just really incredible to be here celebrating these amazing, accomplished, creative, powerful women among us, and all these women here in the room. Thank you for being here. This is obviously a world where women are enjoying greater professional opportunities, creative opportunities, and greater political representation than ever before. But we also need to talk about the gaps, right? Once in the workplace, many women are facing a system that still ignores many of their basic needs. As of 2020, 3/4 of non-federal workers lacked access to paid family leave. And here's a startling fact that we can all just digest for a minute. The US is one of only 2 countries in the world without paid national leave. The other is Papua New Guinea. So let that sink in. So to help us understand where things stand on the fight for paid leave in America, which is an issue that obviously impacts many women in this room and their families, I'm joined by Inimai Chettiar, president of A Better Balance, one of the nation's leading organizations fighting for policies that promote working women and their families. Welcome. Thank you. It's so great to have you. You might not know Better Balance, but you might know many of the bills that they've worked on that have positively impacted even many of you here in this room who've been pregnant while working or worked immediately post-pregnancy. These are consequential family policy victories like the Federal Pregnant Workers Fairness Act and the PUMP Act, as well as dozens of laws in the states. So we are just thrilled to have you here, Inimai, to help us understand this set of issues. And what's so notable about you is, like many of us who bring our lives to work, you came to this work through a personal story. Inimai has lived some of the crises that she's fighting to end right now, and we'll talk about that in a moment. After enduring years of infertility, high-risk pregnancies, and navigating chronic health issues with her young daughters, she was also maintaining a career. And so she emerged with a dedicated mission, which was to turn her private struggle into public policy change, which is how I think a lot of women get drawn into policy issues. They want to solve a specific problem. So her issue is how women and families are treated in the workplace. And Inimai is a lawyer. She's previously held senior roles at the Brennan Center for Justice, at the Justice Action Network, and the ACLU, and she's helped both parties pass major bills in Congress and the states on issues that would be of interest to many of you here. So welcome, Inimai. So I think where we could start is, many people, just to level set, may be unaware of why family leave is important. I think a lot of people basically consider it, okay, it's just like one of the many perks you get in a company benefit plan, but like, help us understand the importance of this broadly.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Luiza. I am really happy to be here talking about this issue. So paid leave strikes at the heart of what families care about the most. So their financial security and their health. So paid leave basically is where you get a certain amount of time off of work to take care of specific needs, like if you're sick or if you've had surgery or if you need maternity leave. And this kind of policy has real benefits. It reduces infant mortality, it saves tens of billions of dollars in lost wages, but 1/3 of mothers don't have access to even 1 day of paid leave. And as you mentioned with that statistic previously, it's truly absurd that the US is only one of 2 countries that doesn't offer paid leave.
No, it is quite surprising. But where do things stand now in terms of policy in 2025? And in particular, you do a lot of work in the States. Like, where are things trending?
Yeah, what's really interesting about paid leave is that it truly is one of the rare issues where there is a bipartisan consensus, which is really rare. A full 82% of voters support paid leave across red states, blue states, purple states. And this has been really successful at the state level. So there are 18 states that have paid sick leave laws, and there are 14 states that have paid family medical leave laws. Just last year in Nebraska, they actually passed a sick leave ballot initiative by 75 to 25%, so a huge margin there. And in southern states, perhaps surprisingly, there have been Republicans who have been leading this year after year, trying to pass paid leave laws for government workers.
Mm-hmm. And what about federally? I mean, here we are in Washington. What's happening on Capitol Hill?
Yeah, so on the Hill, there are 2 key bills. There is the Family Act, which would give 12 weeks of paid family medical leave. And there is the Healthy Families Act that would provide up to 7 days of paid sick leave. So in the last presidential election cycle, we heard a lot from both candidates about how they care about families and how they care about economics. But here we are, almost a year later, with little to show for it. We still have the same crises going on, with families struggling to make ends meet and women being sidelined in the workplace. And so even despite all of this success at the state level and the real public support, Congress hasn't acted. And so that's really where the obligation is, for Congress to really act and deliver on this issue.
Well, here's what I don't understand. You mentioned that this is an issue with bipartisan support. It's been around for a long time. We've definitely heard leading voices in both parties talking about it. But progress at the federal level keeps stalling. Like, why is that?
Yeah, so in my opinion, I think that there's 2 reasons. An issue of prioritization and an issue of perception. So I think we really need to push both parties to make this a top priority. And to make it a top priority, that means delivering action, not just speaking about it. There are some Democratic women legislators who have been championing the issue. We have increasingly seen Republican women come to the cause, but we need more from them, and we need more from both men and women on both sides of the aisle. The second issue, I think, is perception. So, and you referenced this in your original question, I think a lot of people still think of paid leave as some kind of work perk, like a free gym membership. And it's really not fully understood that this is truly an issue of basic economic survival, particularly for people earning low wages.
Yeah, well, let's sort of build on that, because you've noted in the past that the consequences of the lack of legislation around paid leave and pregnancy accommodation are actually very great for specific groups of women. And I'd love for you to unpack that and really help us understand where that impact happens.
Yeah, so this issue affects people who are earning lower wages the most, especially shift workers, hourly workers, and disproportionately women of color. A lot of them are faced with the impossible choice of either trying to keep their paycheck or trying to keep their families healthy. So at A Better Balance, we run a free legal helpline where we hear from thousands of women every year who call in with these kind of questions and asking for help. And there are just so many stories about how women are struggling with this. So we have one client, her name's Aria. She works in a Speedway gas station in Ohio. When she got pregnant, her doctor told her that she could not stand for long periods of time. So she asked for a stool to be able to sit on while she worked the cash register. Her manager denied that. So she was forced onto unpaid leave for 4 months, so making it really difficult for her to pay rent, pay bills, and secure food for her family. We have another client, Jennifer. So she works in an Amazon warehouse in upstate New York. When she got pregnant, her doctor told her that she could not do any more heavy lifting. And so Amazon denied that request, and so she was forced to continue heavy lifting. When she did, on the job, she suffered a severe abdominal pain, was wheeled out of the warehouse in a wheelchair, hospitalized, and then fired for taking time off to be in the hospital. Yeah, and unfortunately, these are not isolated incidents. This happens all the time. And these are really the women who are paying the price for our policy failures.
Inimai, as I mentioned in the introduction, this is very personal for you. Can you share your own story and sort of how it brought you to the work that you're doing now?
Yeah, so I struggled for many years to conceive. When I finally got pregnant, I had a really difficult pregnancy that often made it difficult for me to move. I was hospitalized in pain and terrified, but had to keep working. When my daughter was born, I thought, I've done it, she's here, it's all worth it. But little did I know that an entire new ordeal was about to begin. So when she was born, she was losing weight to really critical levels, and nobody knew why. And so I took her to 50 different doctors, rushing from appointment to appointment while trying to hold down a job. The hospital would randomly call me and tell me that a specialist appointment opened up the following day. And so I'd have to drop everything, give very little notice to work, and show up there the next day. And I was faced with a choice. Am I going to meet my obligations as a mother, or am I going to meet my obligations as an employee? And lucky for me, my employer at the time provided me with both leave and accommodations. And that is really how we were able to get through it. And millions of women don't have that same benefit. And so that experience is really what brought me to this work.
You know, I see people nodding, and I just wonder, could we have a show of hands for anyone else who's sort of experienced either a difficult pregnancy or someone close to you experienced it or had to take time off from work because of a newborn with issues? Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of hands going up. If these stories are so common, you know, what can our leaders or the public do right now to bring more attention to it, particularly as the midterms are coming up, as we know?
Yeah, so I think that the midterms offer a real opportunity for candidates to step up on this issue and really show that they care about families, and also to deliver on this issue. And, you know, so how can we help them to do that? I think that we can be louder, both in our voices and in our votes. So talk to your family and friends about paid leave, talk to your social networks about paid leave, encourage them to vote on it. I also think that we need to remind politicians that this has worked at the state level. And we know that there's been dozens of these laws that have passed. It's good for business, it's good for workers, it's good for families. And many of these reform efforts, like criminal justice reform, marriage equality, started in the states and then became federal law. And paid leave can and should follow that path. So, you know, at the end of the day, I think this issue is really not about left and right. It's about right and wrong. And everyone deserves to be able to take care of themselves and their family without sacrificing their paycheck. And if you believe in that, you should be supporting paid leave.
Well, thank you so much, Inimai. Thank you. Thank you. Just thank you for this important reminder of how impactful these policy decisions are on women across the country and why this conversation matters. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.